Hiya folks, Eagle Spitz here from Punk for the Homeless on Desert Island Vids over at Punk for the Homeless Sunday sessions it will be. Well, today I've got with me Wilderness Wasp Howl. Hello, Wasp.
Hi, giving me my full title there. That's very good of you, thanks.
Is that
It's
your proper
usually
name?
only places like doctors' surgeries do they call that out.
Brilliant. Well, I've got a mate called Scar Pete who does Scar, and he's also, and he actually changed his name to Scar Pete Dawson, and
good for him.
The amount of sort of different pronunciations of Scar Pete, because that's his first name.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I actually legally changed my name to Wilderness Wasp Howl, although everyone calls me Wasp. So, you know, these days it's very common in hospitals and doctors for it to flash up on a screen and be announced really loudly. So it comes up and you see like the whole waiting room of people look around like,
brilliant.
What's going on? And then I sort of like, well, that's me across the room. I go, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we've been meaning to change my name to Eagle Spitz because I was fine with just having been known as Eagle, known as Eagle since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But since a couple of years ago, fucking Facebook's made you use your proper name on it.
Yeah.
It's like people started calling me the G word. Which...
Oh God, I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, I had a similar thing with Facebook actually, because it's reportedly when people report you for having a fake name that they investigate you. I don't know if that's true or not, but it happened to me, and they ask you to send you your ID, and I debated about whether to do it for some time. But I was in India at the time and I was unwell and I didn't have much way of contacting people. So I did send them my ID and then they had to climb down and reinstate it. And now you can't report me for having a fake name.
No, it's brilliant. Excellent. So why Wilderness Wasp Howl? Well,
I'm a practicing pagan basically. So the answer to that is multifaceted, and it's hard I'll try and give you a brief as rundown as possible. I got to a point in my spiritual practice where I wanted to have a name that reflected that. So that's, you know, one of the reasons why I changed my name. And that's kind of the briefest reason why I changed it to that as well. They're all kind of names connected to my spirituality. And actually it's kind of connected to the band a bit as well, because I'm from the band Rites of Hadda, and because Hadda represents a kind of personal mythology to me, which is based around a goddess, which is based around, partly for me, a queen wasp goddess, as a kind of metaphor for the sort of unknown power that you may or may not believe in. So yeah, so it's kind of interconnected like that a bit.
Yeah, because a lot of people see wasps as negative, and I was, you know, I'm a Christian anarchist. I was preaching a couple of years ago, and I was speaking about wasps, about how people hate them, but I mean, without them, we'd all be dead, you know, because they help break down everything in the ground and stuff. And
well, that is one of the facets of why I'm called Wasp. I wanted to I had a connection with wasps, and I wanted to sort of reclaim that, you know. And also I have got a bit of a waspish personality. If I get too drunk, I can be a bit nasty, and if I'm like, people that rattle me, I can sting them, you know. I've got that waspish streak in my personality. So it's like, but also, just as I have those streaks, like many people do, I'm also a really good person. And you know, wasps are also really good individuals, and what they're doing for the world and for us as a species is really important, by keeping the ecology ticking over, you know. So it's, being a pagan, we like to reclaim those kind of, like, often those darker or forgotten animals or spirits, and kind of bring them into the light a bit. So it was partly to do with that as well. That's another strand of thing.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's like everything contains a breath of God. Therefore, everything is sacred.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I think you're
absolutely.
like me. I think you're a vegan as well, aren't you?
I am, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that.
I'm a long term, like pre-boom.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah,
it's funny because I've been a veggie most of my life. And then
yeah.
a few years ago, I'd been talking to Rachel about my wife, for those who don't know, about becoming a vegan. I've been sort of voicing it every now and then. And then she was actually a carnivore, but she went away
Uh-huh.
and read into veganism and said, right, we're turning vegan.
Yeah,
So we both
perfect.
turned vegan at the same time, and it's been good.
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
really, it's been really important in my life, veganism. And a lot of the activism I've done has been animal rights activism. And I'm going back, 20 years now, but, and less, I don't do much activism for the last 3 years, but I was pretty active for, like the 20 years before that in different things, and partly how I got into punk was through veganism and through the activism around animal rights um and yeah, and the kind of, it's really interesting to me how everything kind of feeds into each other in these kind of countercultures, and my experience has been very intersectional with spirituality, politics, sort of animal ethics. It's I'm kind of in the middle of these intersections, and I know that you guys are too as well. So it's
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like we're both anarchists, aren't we?
yeah,
Which I mean is also. I mean, for me, that became from the punk thing. But
yeah,
the more I sort of read the Bible, the more I see that Christ was actually a proto-anarchist.
yeah,
The same happening in a lot of, well, for want of a better word, religions within paganism and stuff. It's like I think there's a massive coming together, basically because our belief system leads us to give a fuck.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, all we've got is each other as well, isn't it? I mean, we can't look. It doesn't matter what our beliefs are, individual belief systems. Often they're very similar, and it's the details they differ on. The essence is
Yeah,
often the same, And essentially, in a society like the kind of post, like, hope capitalist society we live in, people who are punks, who might not believe in anything spiritually, have more in common with pagans and Christian anarchists than they do with the elite that rule us, So
oh,
it's
totally. I mean, I've always seen anarchism as a bit of a spiritual thing anyway, because it has to be about love and trust. But
absolutely, exactly, yeah. I mean, it's the ultimate cooperation, huh?
yeah,
I
totally.
mean, and actually the system we live in is counter that. It's about competition. It's about the ultimate competition, and so
Yeah. Well, I don't see any bigger evil known to man than capitalism.
me either.
Yeah. Well, that's a
Yeah.
good point to start on. So, what's your first tune, buddy? Because I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, actually, it's an interesting one. It's a good one. It's by the Poison Girls, who will be familiar to many people, and it's a song called Statement, and it's really an anti-war song,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a really feminist song, and it's a song that I've for many years have wanted at my funeral. So it's a really important song to me, and it's really nice to be able to share it with some people. So.
I denounce the system that murders my children. I denounce the system that denies my existence. I curse the system that makes machines of my children. I reject the system that makes men of machines. I reject the system that turns bodies of my own sweet flesh into monsters of iron and steel and war, and turns the hands of my children into robot claws. I reject the system that turns the hearts of my children against this earth. I curse the system that turns the genitals of my children into factories of fire and destruction, and rapes our flesh, and tears was our womb. This earth, our home.
There are no words for us, no words. There are no words for us, no words. There are no words for us, no words. There are no words.
When the fireball rapes the flesh of the earth, when the fireball tears the womb of the world, when the bullet rips apart the son and lover, when the bullet lays to waste the daughter, lays to waste the womb work and the labor, lays to waste the womb work and the labor, where are they that will cherish my flesh? Where are they that will cherish my children? The men that will stand against the death dealers. The children that can say no to the life stealers. Where are they that will curse the death dealers? I reject the system.
There are no words for us, no words. There are no words for us, no words. There are no words for us, no words. There are no words.
Their words are words that curse our flesh. Their words are words of hate that curse our flesh. They swear their hate with cunt and balls and shit. They swear their hate with bastard, tit and prick. Their words are words that lay to waste our flesh. I reject the system. Only a curse leaps from my throat. Only a curse leaps like vomit from my throat. Only a curse leaps like blood from my throat. To curse the warlords that lay to waste our labor. That lay to waste the womb work and the labor. That lay to waste the womb work and the labor. That lay to waste. That lay to waste. Waste. Waste.
Yeah, Poison Girls. Me and Rachel, we got married. It'll be 8 years this September, and I had two best men. One of them used to live in an old disused ambulance station in London. I can't remember, Tottenham Way, I think it was. And they used to put gigs on there as well. And they had Poison Girls, and supporting them was this new sort of band who just sort of appeared on the scene called Jesus and Mary Chain.
Yeah.
So that'd have been an interesting gig.
That would have been fun. Actually, as a little like anecdote from my life, the first Rites of Hadda gig we were supposed to be with Vice Versa from the Poison Girls, but unfortunately she hurt herself a few days before the gig, and she had to pull out. And then her last ever gig she did a couple of months later, and we weren't, I mean, it wasn't pulled together by the same people, and we weren't invited. So, so I was this close to fulfilling a punk ambition of meeting and performing on the same bill as Vice Versa from the Poison Girls, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. And
a bit like my band Starting Point of Genocide, or Spog for short. Well, we had a skinhead saxophone player to start with, and he was massively into a business. And we'd got I managed to get us a big gig supporting him, but he was so excited. We were on the way. We'd only got just around the corner of my house, and he smashed the car up.
Oh my God.
Was all right, but no, he didn't get he didn't get to fulfill his ambition. So tell us a little bit about Rites of Hadda, because we're obviously sort of very punky in places, but it's also, to me, it's like a mass psychedelia as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely influenced by that. I mean, I'm influenced, the paganism feeds into that, and because I really started singing through chanting, so a lot of my songs are very short and I do them round a few times. So,
right, okay.
So that kind of brings in a kind of psychedelic, but also I was really, I spent a lot of my 20s organizing illegal raves and existing in that kind of psychedelic space of doing lots of LSD and listening to hard techno music and going to free festivals and being exposed to those kind of bands. And I know Tom, our bassist, is not with us anymore. He's like psychedelia, and our current bassist like psychedelia. So there's been a few kind of influences coming from that kind of realm, from the Hawkwindy kind of free festival kind of, and I like that vibe. I've spent a lot of time in those kind of like one-day free festival events in the last 20 years, and they're really, they're my heart is there, a load of crusties.
Well, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I'm 57, 58 in December. I used to go to Stonehenge and stuff, and that was fucking awesome. But I remember being involved in, because you just mentioned Auckland, I used to be good mates with Twink from Pink Fairies. And got involved with, it was like a bit of an amalgamation, Pink Wind, which was like some of Auckland or some of Pink Fairies. And I put them on at this free festival thing called Festival of Sun, which was a pagan festival in Norfolk. I mean, everybody got nicked because of it. Yeah, it was a brilliant festival. People didn't want it to go ahead. But but to cut a story very short, I had a very, very sort of wrecked night with the Auckland guys.
Well, that's the stuff dreams are made of.
Oh yeah. Well, I got in more ways than one.
I bet that was a good night.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very good. Not as good as a night I met the Clash show. That's another story.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. I should be interviewing you, really. You've got the stories. I can't match.
No, I'm sure you've got lots. Because I was thinking earlier about social isolation and about being locked in, and it made me think about sort of being locked in a park.
No, that's an in joke.
Yeah, we'll share that one with you at some point as well. Just don't climb over a fenced park with your beer late at night. So, what kind of things do you listen to, mate?
Oh, I knew this would come up. Do you know what, with music, I listen to the same thing for months. I never listen to it ever again, but it somehow leaves its mark in my heart, and I love it forever. And then I move on to the next thing. Yeah. And I listen to a little bit of, I like something of everything and not too much of anything. So I'm always a bit nervous when people want to interview me when they're from a particular genre magazine, or because they want to talk about the weeds or the bands of a genre, and often I like one band from that genre and I really like it, and I've listened to them for years and years and years, and if I hear other music from that genre, I like it, but it's not like I've got the focus on the genre more as there's something to do with the heartfelt nature that exists in some people's music. I can hook onto that. At the moment, actually, I'm listening to a load of Hindu chanting, but I'm also by Krishna Das. who's actually an American musician, a white American musician, but he does all sorts of Hindu chanting, and he was in India in the 70s living with a Baba. It's really good. I listen to Nick Cave a lot still.
Oh, yeah.
I listen to.
I love Nick Cave.
Oh, I love
I
Nick
went to
Cave
see him
as
about
well.
50 times over the years.
I've seen him once, and you know,
Oh,
it was kind of
awesome.
like fulfilling an ambition to see him. You know, it was, and what a satisfying gig that was. I mean, it was just so good. I mean, I
He
do have to
certainly
say,
puts 100% in.
oh, he really does. I mean, ethically, he disappoints me somewhat, but you know, his craftsmanship as a performer is second to none. And talking of craftsmanship as performers, Katie Jane Garside from Daisy Chainsaw, and Queen Adrena, and latterly Ruby Throat and Liar Flower. I listen to her stuff all the time. It's just, you know, there's not a day goes by where one of her albums isn't on at some point.
Oh, cool. So, talking about music, what's your next tune, buddy?
Well, actually, I was going to do a different one now, but I'll do Daisy Chainsaw, because I was just talking about Katie Jane Garside, and it's her first band, and it's their song Love Your Money, and I've chosen the video from a performance from The Word because it just really illustrates just how engaging Katie Jane is as a performer, and just sort of what a excellent and refreshing band they were at the time in the early 90s. And it's Daisy Chainsaw, Love Your Money.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff around at that time.
Yeah, that's been really what I love about Daisy Chainsaw and Katie Jane Garside is their kind of goth punk, kind of ethereal crossover that was, you know, like wasn't really happening anywhere else in my life, you know.
Right,
So,
yeah.
and I didn't actually, although I was aware of them at the time, I wasn't into that kind of music at that time. I got into her later band Queen Adrena, and then posthumously got into Daisy Chainsaw through being for Queen Adrena, but then I'm, you know, like I've followed her work ever since, and she's an artist, and you know, lots of people are musicians, but Katie Jane is a bit more than that somehow, you know. It's kind of, she's existing on some other plane ethereally that intersections with the music and the way she presents her artistry and yeah, anyway, I could talk about her for an hour probably, but
All right, well, let's talk about Rites of Hadda instead.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the roots and stuff of Rites of Hadda and where you are now.
Well, we started because Tom, a bassist, who's not with us anymore, but you know, still very much a player in the Rites legacy, because he wrote a lot of the songs we still perform. Him and I started a jam in a squat I used to live in Finsbury Park, and I'd just had a really hard year. I'd been really ill, and I'd just been diagnosed with a type non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it had really, what it had done is it kind of propelled me to do things that I wouldn't do before. And one of those things was to sing. So we started having a jam, and I'd never thought of myself as a very good singer, and I still don't really, or even a singer at all. So we started these jams, and yeah, and then about a year later we started to perform, and there was 7 of us to begin with. And then a couple of years later, we'd whittled that down to 4. And then we really started to cut our teeth, and we were doing all right, really. Like, not great, but we were doing all right. And then Simon joined us on saxophone. We're back up to 5. And we've had several lineup changes. In fact, I'm the only original member left now, but the others, like Alex, has been so long now, he feels like he was there from the start. And same with Matthias, and so yeah, and now we're doing quite well. And before the lockdown, we had an excellent year of gigs ahead of us.
Right. Yeah, and activists. I'm Punk for the Homeless.
Oh, it was just, that has been one of the most heartbreaking things, was because when you've got a project that's gained its own momentum, and then that momentum is derailed by through no fault of your own or anyone else's, really. You know, it's hard to know whether you might get offered the gigs again, but will the momentum be there to carry you through, you know? So that's been difficult. And also we were all talking to other people about gigs for next year that we don't know if they'll happen now as well. And what was disappointing, especially as all that dawned on us, was the gigs we were offered this year was that little bit better than the gigs we'd been offered previously. You know, they're slightly higher profile gigs, you know.
Thanks for that, mate.
I think better is the wrong choice of word there, because actually my soul and our soul is in dirty little venues performing on the floor for punks, you know. Yeah. But it is also satisfying to be offered gigs that have a different stature to that as well. Yeah, you know, it's not, I think better was a poor choice of words, because look, I could guarantee you, even if we were selling out Brixton Academy next week, I'd still want to play the Sumac Centre, you know, because my life has been in those places up until this point.
Yeah, they are great places, aren't they? Sadly, not enough of them around.
Great places. Oh fuck! It's like the Sumac Centre. You're hard pushed, the Cowley Club, and then I can't name. Where's more?
There's a 1 in 12 in Bradford.
Oh yeah, I've never been there. The 1 in 12. Yeah, I know about that one. I can't even think of anywhere in London that's quite that similar anymore.
No, there used to be, didn't there? I remember the anti-war march in '92.
Yeah.
No, 2002. Yeah.
We had Ramparts. In East
London. Bacon Factory. That's where we ended up for the night. I don't know where it was. I was too wrecked by that point. But it was a biggish squat, And there
Yeah.
was lots of different rooms. There's a stage in one room, and there was a big merch room in another part of it and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, I am a bit out of touch now. I don't go out like I used to. I'm not really on that whole squatting scene for the last 5 years, but I don't know of any,
no.
or anywhere. And I know, you know, there is the DIY space for London, but I've never been there.
Right, okay.
And it's not a squat though, but I'm sure, I know they're doing really valuable stuff there, but yeah, I've never been there.
Right. Now, well,
I'd
this is one
stay in
reason I
these
fell in
days.
love. This is one reason I fell in love with Berlin,
Yeah.
Kreuzberg, and places. It's like
Oh, I
some
know,
of the
yeah.
yeah. It's like that's one thing I'm missing about being stuck in isolation. I can't go to Berlin to go to the copium places.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and who knows if we'll be allowed out of this country for some time now. I mean, it's been, there's such a mess been made of it that no one's going to want us.
Well, we put a trust in Boris, so it's our own fucking fault.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, we didn't, but but we have to, join in being British at some point, don't we? We can't deny it, unfortunately.
I'll try my best.
Me too. People ask me where I'm from, and what's like London, because there's a chance that they'll think I'm not from Britain.
Well, yeah, no, totally. Yeah. I mean, I recorded that track with Rich Gulag a couple of years back called "This Septic Isle," and it's all about sort of how what a fucking whole Britain is, and sort of disgusting with racism and homophobia and all that bollocks.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, what's your last tune?
Well, the last tune is a slightly miserable tune, actually.
Oh,
but
excellent. I think there's a bit of goth in all of us.
Yeah, it's a bit gothic. It's a bit folky. It's by folk singer Charlie Murphy, and it's called The Burning Times. And it's about, as you might imagine, the burning times. And it's basically, he's an Irish folk singer. Oh shit! I've given the wrong name. I mean Christy Moore, not Charlie Murphy.
Okay,
it's because I was having an argument with myself about which version of this song to choose, because there's been several, even though it is a Christy Moore song, but Charlie Murphy did a version of it. But I'm going to give you the Christy Moore version.
Okay, cool.
And it's about the burning times, and it's about the war against women and pagans and effeminate gay men, presumably, and anyone who was different at that time that was waged. And it's actually he took a bit of creative license with the figures that we know about. So it's not as biographical as you might think, but it's a really touching song, and I appreciate its existence.
Oh, brilliant. thanks for being on, man. It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, nice to see you. Hopefully be
Well,
able to
done my
give you
hair
a hug at
especially.
some point.
Yeah. Hugs
Yeah.
are good.
Squeeze.
Yeah, I'm missing hugging people, which is
Yeah.
which is a very odd thing for an aging punk rocker to say. What do you miss most about being in lockdown? Well, hugging people.
I do miss going out though to gigs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anyway,
Well, we'll have to get to one together soon.
yeah, I don't want to start on like when that might be,
No.
but yeah.
Something we never know. No, it's totally fucking unsure.
Well,
I think that's
yeah, and also we've got no chance in this country of that fucking shower in charge, have we? Do you know what I mean?
No.
We're going to be watching the rest of the world go back to the lives that they enjoyed before, like outside.
Well, without the plague, I mean, it's like you think things couldn't get fucking worse with Boris and the rest of the fascists in power, and then you get the fucking plague on top of it, you know?
Yeah, and
But anyway, we've got to keep smiling and laughing and then kicking the sofa and stuff.
yeah, hopefully we'll be able to kick the sofa together in none too short a time.
Right, you take care, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
being
you
on.
too. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks for all you do for the children and for homeless people in general. You're an example to us all. Thank you very much.
That means we're all fucked then. You take care, man. Bless you.
Yeah. Lots of love. Bye.
Lots of love, mate.